I have two brief questions I'd like to ask, if I may.
Hi, welcome to Left Foot Media. My name is Brendan Malone and you're watching The Daily Question. Today's question of the day, what the heck is Disney thinking? Now, the reason I'm asking that question is because, as you've probably heard by now, they are going to be making a live action, that's right, live action TV series starring Diego Luna returning as his character of Cassian Andor from Rogue One. Now, hear me out. I loved Rogue One. I actually thought Rogue One was the best of all of the new Star Wars movies that have been released so far under the new Disney Lucasfilm regime. I really like it. I think it was a great mix of the old and the new. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it is the best of the movies released so far. However, Cassian Andor, there's no reason to go back and to revisit that character. There is nothing compelling about that character that you look at and you say, yeah, this would make sense to give a more fleshed out backstory. This is a character who they're talking about giving a backstory to a character in a backstory. This doesn't really make a lot of sense. Now, Donnie Yen, on the other hand, Chirrut Îmwe, that character, well, yeah, that would have been a character who had some interesting mystique and mysteriousness about him, and there's a lot that you could potentially play with there if you wanted to actually go back and draw on some of the new existing source material. Boba Fett, of course, makes absolute sense because Boba Fett is a long-standing character and a much-beloved character within the Star Wars universe, and he's obviously attached to the whole Mandalorian mythology, which is a big part of Star Wars as well. So it makes sense that you would focus on a character like Boba Fett. Like if you were sitting there going, what's going to be the best business decision here? You know, Boba Fett makes sense. You know, getting Donnie Yen to bring his character back in a live-action TV series. Yeah, there's something potentially there. But Cassian Andor? Who's making this decision? Why was this decision made? To me, this is like someone trying to milk an anemic cow. It's not just an anemic cow, in fact. It's lying half dead on its side on the ground, and they're still jumping up and down on top of the thing. Hey, there's milk in here somewhere. I know it. Because this just doesn't make a lot of sense. Who has creative oversight if this is the decision-making outcome? It seems to me that this is possibly more likely a decision that someone who's a little bit out of touch, who's walked into a business meeting one day and has said, my kids really love that Rouge One movie that you made, you know, and they really love that character Cassian Andor, so we should make more of Cassian, put him on screen. Like, it just doesn't seem like a very prudent thing to do, and this is one of the big question marks that I always had when Disney first announced that they were going to be doing this new Star Wars streaming service. Where are they going to get enough content to actually fill an exclusive Star Wars streaming service with? Where are they going to find this content? Because most of the content that you could stream that is Star Wars content already exists and has already been watched. So effectively what you'd end up with is a streaming service that is really a repository for all of the existing content, plus there would be one or two new things that you would add as well, but that's not really enough to keep a streaming service alive and thriving. There's not really enough organic growth there to keep people coming back time and time again. Instead, like I said, it's little more than a repository, an online place to go where you can just stream anything Star Wars, but it's not really what you want from a streaming service, which is more of an engaging community type thing. Like Netflix, you keep going back to Netflix time and time again because there's always the possibility of something new. It's always changing and shifting and developing, but with Star Wars, there's just not enough content to do this with. And so it seems to me that this is little more than an attempt to try and actually fill the streaming coffers with some streaming content. But they're grasping at anything they can get their hands on now to try and do that. And Disney really needs to learn here from the Marvel mistake in this regard. Marvel did this in conjunction with Netflix on the Netflix platform, so the risk for them is even less than what we're talking about here with the Star Wars streaming platform. But it didn't really work out the way they'd hoped. You know, Daredevil, great show. But Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, these things just haven't really panned out the way they thought they would, and it seems there is a bit of a limit for this kind of stuff, that you are starting to sort of push the boundaries and you can't really expect to get the same sort of returns and the same sort of audience interest as you would from, say, your big tentpole films, your Avengers movies and the big Marvel movies that you're making. It doesn't really work like that. There's only so much you can milk a franchise, and it seems that Star Wars is about to embark down a path that Disney has already trod with their Marvel franchise, and they're about to repeat the mistake, except this time I see even more risk. It just doesn't make any sense to me why Cassian Andor would be receiving his own live-action TV series. I can't see any prudent decision-making that's gone into us. Like I said, I think this is really little more than a desperate attempt at trying to prop up something they've announced without possibly thinking through too deeply how they would actually fulfill on the promise. As per usual, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please let me know what you think in the comments section below. And if you like the content I'm creating and you'd like to see more of it, then please support me on PayPal or Patreon. There's a link for both in the video description below. That's right, I can hear my theme music too. I'll see you tomorrow on The Daily Question.